So you can hear us fine, Dan?
Yeah.
All good. I can hear you fine. Why don't we, rather than talk about all the good stuff before we start recording, I've already started recording. So anytime you're ready to kick off, you can introduce it. You can introduce. We're up to
Poodcast number 13.
13. Yeah.
Really? I've only watched up to 9. What happened to the last
we
3?
banged out. Well, we can talk about these. Let's you start, Dan, and then we'll just start going, and we'll talk about what we're going to talk about, because we want to go through training and.
Hello and welcome back to the Impersonal Training Poodcast. This is Poodcast number 13. I'm Dan. That's Will on top. Apparently, Will likes to be on top.
Because I'm dominant.
Yeah, whatever. And we have our amigo Gus here with us. So we've been working with Gus for a few months now, and we're going to ask him a little bit about how it started and how it's going, because I think that's how we do our memes these days now, right? So anyhow, hi Gus.
G'day, Dan.
How are you?
Hi Gus.
I'm well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So I think you did a program for about 8 weeks. Is that right? And then switched it up.
Yeah, that's right. So the first program lasted a little longer than normal, and the second program has just completed the 28-day cycle. So I'll test tomorrow and hopefully kick off a third phase, a third program.
So how many times have you tested?
Twice.
Twice.
Once to start the first program and then once to complete the first program. So the first program, I think it went for 60 days. I had a couple of weeks just mucking around, and then Will said, look, go do that for another 40 days or so. So it was a bit longer than the normal 28-day cycle, the first round. And then I've just completed a second 28-day cycle.
So do you just want to run us real quickly through what you've been doing as far as your resistance training and also your rowing, because you're pretty into the rowing.
Yeah, at the start of this whole experiment, one of your old colleagues, Damien Griffin, he turned up and offered to set up a rowing program. So we've been doing that on the alternate days to strength training. So the strength training is Monday and Tuesday, and then Thursday and Friday. And then I'll row on the Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'll alternate. I've got two sessions in the resistance training, session 1 and session 2, and I'll do session 1 on a Monday, session 2 on a Tuesday, and then I'll do a session 1 on a Thursday and session 2 on a Friday. So that's a repeating cycle for the 28-day block. And then the rowing is sort of broken into a hard and easy and a medium rowing day. And it works out the Wednesday is the medium, and the Saturday is the hard, and the Sunday is the easy. The easy rowing day, sort of like a recovery day, I guess, in the week.
So I want to know how long does session 1 and how long does session 2 take?
They really take no time at all now. When I first started, I was huffing and puffing, and I'd need to rest between sets, and I'd need to rest during the sets. Nowadays, I just move through it without rest, and I actually need to slow myself down in the exercises to, I guess, what's the phrase? The time under resistance.
Yep,
otherwise, I'm just flying through them. I still find the 16 kilo pood heavy to do like a shoulder press with and a squat with. Yeah. So those ones are hard still, but I don't need to break. I can just do them directly. So I reckon the whole session, I think Definitely the push-up session. So that's push-ups, band pulls, and kettlebell swings. That's faster. And I reckon I get through, I haven't timed myself, but I reckon I'm getting through that in 10 minutes, all 5 sets, just flying through it. And then the second session, which is, I find a bit more challenging, that's the shoulder presses, the kettlebell shoulder press, the squats, and the inverted row. That probably takes me 15 minutes to get through. And the hardest of that is the inverted row for me. I've been finding it hard to get a consistent place where I can set up the TRX thing. I've made some bands which I hang off a tree at the moment. I was previously using a trampoline and sort of hanging underneath that, but I got rid of the trampoline. So it's been a bit of a mixed bag. When I hang the TRX off the tree, it puts me in a slightly different position. So I tend to be just levering up a little bit more like this rather than lifting up.
Yeah.
So the exercise feels a bit different. So that's
would you say the biggest difference that the program's made is that your backyard's now much tidier? You've got rid of a lot of the garbage in it?
Certainly brought a focus on the backyard. Actually, it's true. It does give you a bit more motivation in your life if you're, it's kind of like making your bed in the morning. You think, oh, well, I did one thing well. I may as well move on and do the kitchen.
I think that's what everybody's noticed over your progression through your training is how much your backyard and your general environment has changed. That's the biggest change that you've undertaken.
The other effect was I went out and bought some new clothes. I was wearing like a 17-year-old t-shirt and some shorts that didn't fit me.
Yeah, you look less like a squatter now, like squatting, taking care of your environment. You're taking much more interest in the way you present yourself to the world. I think that's the biggest. For me, that's the thing that I feel best about, that your yard's now tidy and that you're presentable. You don't look like a hobo that just climbed out of a dumpster.
It is true. Shaving regularly.
How long are the rowing sessions?
It ends up being around about an hour, probably a little bit less than an hour. So the Wednesday is 5 by 1500, and I do a warm up before that. So the warm up is always about 10 minutes. Then I'll muck around for a couple of minutes after the warm up, and then I'll just move through the 5 by 1500s. And so how long does that take me? The 1500 is, I think, I could look it up. It's it's a little over sort of 5.5 minutes. And then I rest for 5 minutes between each of those efforts. So the whole thing ends up taking, around about an hour. And then the Saturday is different. That's 20 times 250 meters. So it's like what do they call it? Tabata efforts, where you kind of
it's actually 10 by 250 by 2, but you've turned it into 20 by 250.
Right. Yeah, I keep forgetting to have the rest in the middle.
Yeah.
But that effort, so that's sort of like 2 minutes on, 2 minutes, it's about 1 minute on, 1 minute off. So for 20 reps, so that's 40 minutes plus the warm up. It turns out to be about 50 minutes, 60 minutes of high intensity on the Saturday. And then the Sunday is probably the shortest, even though it's the longest row. It's a 10K row. And I don't do a warm up for that. I just jump straight into it and do the 10K row. It takes me about 45 minutes. And I call it a day after that on the Sunday. And that's nice, actually. When I don't do that Sunday effort, that 10K row, I don't feel very good. My body doesn't feel as fresh in the subsequent week.
When you don't do which one? Sorry?
The 10K row, it's a bit of a sort of a recuperation for me.
The recovery type of movement.
Yeah, it's really slow. It's really easy and a bit meditative, and just time to kind of stretch out a little bit. And it gets rid of aches and pains, oddly. I feel better after doing that than when I started, which has been an interesting side effect of.
One, are you, and these questions are in no order of importance, are you generally training in the morning or during the day or in the evening? What are you normally training?
the first 60 days, I was quite disciplined because I was just coming off a training base of 0. And I had, I was kind of in a bit of a flat spot in life in general. So I needed to have a bit of regularity and a bit of consistency to my training effort. So in the first 60 days, I was getting up early and doing it in the morning before work, before the rest of the family got up. In the second 28-day block that I've just finished, it's been all over the place. And I've just been fitting it in where it's been convenient for the rest of my life. So if I sleep in, then I'll do it in the afternoon. If the family needs my attention, I'll do it late at night. If I've got a lunch break at work that I can sort of stretch out a little bit, I'll do it during the middle of the day. So it's been very opportunistic for the second 28 days. And I'm less concerned if I miss a day in the second 28-day block. In the first 60 days, I think I missed one day, and I was furious about that.
I think you beat yourself up about it for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, and it was sort of silly. And my son said to me, he said, well, why don't you just step back? And if it's 1 out of 60, what does that matter? What's that percentage all about? Yeah. And I was like, wow, he's a teenager giving me some life lessons. And I thought, this is a bit embarrassing. I better just cool it off. And he also said to me, he said, what are you going to win? What are you going to win if you don't miss a day? And of course, the answer is absolutely nothing.
Yes. And so one of the things that I'm interested in, so obviously from my point of view, Dan and I have talked about this before, the training stuff is really super simple. So, and I don't mean that super simple for us. So we've had been exposed to this for a long period of time. A lot of the principles and practices of training are very clear and easily implemented. The real hard thing is the psychology of it. So finding what works for different individuals to get them to buy into the program, I think, is super hard. So what I'm interested in is some of your thoughts and reflections. So you started off, for how long were you doing nothing before we started? How long were you on a baseline of doing bugger all?
Yeah, about 4 years of absolutely nothing.
Yeah. That's a good unload.
Consistent weight gain over that 4 year time.
Okay, so what did you struggle with when we first started? What were the struggles that you had?
Well, it was really emotional, saying that I'm going to start trying again after 4 years of not doing anything. Prior to the 4 years, I was very fit. I was racing mountain bikes, racing road bikes, competing in endurance events. I weighed 92 kilograms and had been training for a decade and was like right into it. Was sometimes spending 20 hours a week on the bike. And when I stopped dead, and it coincided with some changes in my living arrangements and some other sort of family transitions. So it was quite an abrupt and an emotional end to my training. And then starting up again was in some ways a signal that I was processing those demons that made me stop in the first place. Yep. So just starting, and unbeknownst to you two, you just offered the training advice, and you sort of had no idea what sort of personal feelings that came along with that for me. So it was very difficult for me just to accept the fact that I was going to try, that I was going to not just eat rubbish food all the time. I was going to go to bed and get up in the morning. I was going to do the exercise religiously, whether I liked it or not. So the exercise itself was joyful. It's actually nice. You warm up, you do some exercise, you get the endorphins, you feel good, you eat better afterwards. So the exercise itself was great, and I would look forward to that. But the idea that I was going to transform myself was quite a confrontation. And interestingly, my partner was quite affected by me doing that as well. She thought that
What way?
it meant that, well, I think she was both jealous that I was taking time out to look after myself, where we have a young child at home, so she's under a lot of pressure to just be a carer and doesn't have a lot of time to treat herself to things like exercise and time off just to spend on herself. So she was jealous of me doing that, and also was a bit suspicious about what the motivation was. Why did I want to get fit? Did I want to transform my life, and does that include a transformation of the current status quo in the family? So just, and of course the answers to those things is no, but like it just had there was sort of interesting side effects of changing the way you behave on a dime. So it was like literally one day I was a sloth on the couch getting drunk and eating tubs of ice cream. And the next day
that sounds awesome.
Wasn't eating sugar, wasn't drinking beer, was getting up in the morning training. And it was a shock to everyone around me. No one could understand what was happening.
Yeah, but just hearing you say it makes me angry.
Yeah, it was pretty awful for about 4 years. It was pretty disgusting.
Yeah, that's a good period of time.
Yeah. So definitely the hardest thing about starting is that emotional battle with yourself that you're going to try. And as you say, like it really chimed with me. You said at some point, it's going to be easy and you're going to be frustrated with how easy it is, like in terms of the actual effort that you had to put out with the exercise. In my training for cycling in my past life, it was never advised by coaches. It was just my naive assumption. It was that you had to go to fatigue to get benefits. So all of my training was about killing myself. And it was a nice change to just go out and be moderate with all of the exercises, because it was easy. Like you would do it, like, it would take me an hour in the morning to do it and sort of recover from it. And I was fine. I could carry on with the rest of the day. Whereas with my cycling training, I'd have to go to bed or have an emergency sleep or eat some sugar at the end of the training sessions just to carry on with life.
And so, what were your expectations when you started exercising? Do you think it was going to be? Did you think it'd be enough to make things change, or what did you think was going to happen when you started when you got into the program? You're in week 3. What were you thinking?
Yeah, I was frustrated, so not going fast enough. I wanted it to be harder. I wanted to be doing more. I wanted to do mornings and afternoons. I wanted to be on the weights. Like all of this body weight stuff was frustrating. I wanted to be, in the gym, lifting some big dumbbells. And I wanted more screaming and anger and sweat. It was all a bit too light, because I'm doing it in the backyard, which is sort of in public view of 4 of my neighbors. And some, at first I was a little bit embarrassed, to be honest, just to be out there huffing and puffing and doing the exercises. So I wanted it to look more impressive.
They didn't know. They had no idea how bad your reverse lunges were.
Nor did I. That was actually very surprising. So what were my expectations? Well, I was humbled very, very quickly. When I saw the recording of my push-ups, I thought I was doing beautiful push-ups and I had lovely form and I was an Adonis. When I saw myself, I'm like, who is that fat bastard? He can barely keep his body straight. And it was just so far from my mental image of myself. I was really shocked. I was really upset by that. I was like, how did this happen? Like, in my mind, I'm still 17 and impervious to ill health and can bounce back from any sort of setback. But yeah, coming back to reality of a 46-year-old man who's sort of out of shape and starting to lose balance and lose flexibility and lose strength and lose recovery ability. And yeah, it was an awful shock. So really, what were my expectations? I don't know. Like a lot of that stuff I'd been running from or hiding from the fact that I'm getting older and I can't rely on natural fitness anymore. And so it was just, my expectations were were very low. I didn't know what was going to happen. And as I say, like, I was not wanting to start training. It was not on my agenda to enter into this program. I spoke to you one day, Will, and you said, "Oh, you'd be welcome to join me. I'm doing this." And it was just a lucky hook for me, because I would have said no if you'd asked me the day before, and I would have said no if you'd asked me the day after. It was just a lucky moment in my psychology where I said, don't question this. You're being offered something, say yes and try. And so I had to really avoid thinking about it to enter into it in the first place. So I had no expectations other than it was going to be awful to confront the reality of my physicality.
Okay, so that brings you tested yesterday and you blew up. What happened yesterday?
Yeah, I've been trying to crack the 7-minute mark on the rower. And last time I tested, I did the strength test first and I did the rowing test second. Sorry, what did you say?
I said why?
Oh, because I want to be like Damien, and Damien's super strong on the rower. And 7 minutes is like a historically it's kind of like a watershed moment on the rower. Like if you can break 7 minutes, you're better than the average bear.
Yeah.
And my vanity says, I want to be better than the average bear. Rowing should be good for me. I'm tall, I'm strong. That should be my sport. And I'm also very close. My PB is 7 minutes, 13 seconds. And so I really feel like I can do it. And I've been focusing on this a lot and been meditating about how to do it. And I had a strategy for my test yesterday. And I was doing so well, like I was actually rowing to plan. And at the 1500 meter mark, I gave up, not because of physical fatigue, but because of a mental block. Like I didn't want to achieve the goal because I knew that it was going to come with a certain amount of pride. And I kind of don't I sort of hate myself and I don't want to feel proud.
That's good.
if that makes sense.
I like that.
Self-loathing is what we're all about. I mean, it's the bond, it's the common bond that joins us all together. And that's no shit. I mean, and that's an interesting one though, that, I mean, I'm different. I will do it to the point where like, I won't start something. Yeah, I do that too. Big procrastinator. Once I'm in it, I'll like tear a bicep or do something stupid. So, that's interesting. So Will and I briefly talked about this yesterday. I'd kind of like to go into like your previous few days before your testing, because as we saw on your blog, on your training blog, that you woke up with like a old man neck injury. And I'm still carrying a bit of that. So how did you feel that morning, and what time of day did you do the test, and did you eat, and how have your previous few days been, and so forth? So I skipped training on the Thursday and then I trained on the Friday. So that was my session 2, the inverted row, and the shoulder press and the squats. But I'm fine. I recovered from that pretty well. And then I got up, I looked after the family, cooked pancakes, had lunch. And then the little one goes to bed in the afternoon. And so I had a bit of time to myself. So I went to the shed and I think I sat down at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I did a longer than normal warm up. I did a few ramps, like sort of getting up to my 7-minute pace just after my warm up. So I was kind of really focused on it and I really wanted to achieve it. I put on my special shoes. I had music going. I had the fan going. I'd set the rower up in order to do this effort. And I had a bit of a race plan in my head about how to achieve it. And I kind of felt like I'd mentally prepared and physically prepared. And then I started the effort and felt great. Like I was kicking myself as I'm going. I'm like, fuck, you're doing it. Like you're really doing it. This is happening. My heart rate wasn't going through the roof. I wasn't deviating from the pace
at all. So I was rowing really well, consistent. And in my head, it was just like 500 meters to go. That's very close to the end in a row like that. It's really, it's like, it doesn't get any harder at that point. It's already hard. So I don't know whether my preparation through the day was bad or not. Maybe if I'd gotten up in the morning and just did it without thinking, maybe I sort of overthought the whole thing. I don't know.
So you're doing your strength testing tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll see. Are you going to video that for us? I want to see that.
Yeah. So just push-ups, squats, and inverted row.
Inverted rows. So
and because my inverted row setup has changed a bit, I'm not sure whether it's apples to apples comparison.
That'll be different because we really need that kickback. We need that. But that's all right. We'll see that, and see in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big a deal. So your squats will be standardized. Your push-ups will be standardized. I think we're going to have to get you set up on the inverted row. So I think I told you yesterday, Dan, Gus got me a pull-up dip station. And just before you came on, I was saying that my plan was to get Gus the same version so I could see whether it was shit or not. And then if it was shit, I would get a different one. But he's flipped it on me. And luckily, the one that he got me is quite good. So I'm going to fix that to the deck outside my place. And I specifically got it more so I could do inverted rows and put the suspension trainer on it and do some suspended push-ups and then pull the straps up and do some inverted rows. So I think what we'll end up doing, Gus, is for you to be doing the same thing. We'll find some way for you to put that suspension trainer, hang it from a pull-up dip station, and that'll become our standard place to do inverted rows. So going forward, that'll be the benchmark. And in the grand scheme of things, it matters, but it's no big deal because when you're testing all the time, if you're testing every 28 days, 10 tests down the track another year from now, it's not going to make any difference that your inverted rows tomorrow aren't like the ones beforehand and not like the next ones, because the next ones we do will probably be the standardized ones that we do going forward. Because it's one of those things that we need to go back and revisit as well, Dan, to talk about, because one of the things I've had a lot of questions about from people who've seen previous podcasts, what do I do if I can't do push-ups? Or what do I do if I don't have something to do squats with? So we got to find some way to go through and talk through where we start with testing again. Because so Gus is using a 16 kg kettlebell.
Yeah.
For the squats. Yep. And then just push-ups in a minute, squats in a minute, inverted rows in a minute.
Yeah.
So where do we start, Gus? Where was when you did your first test? Where do we begin? Just push-ups are probably the easiest one to talk about because that's pretty standardized. How many push-ups did you get your first time?
Well, again, I think we want to kind of understand that they're not apples to apples comparisons, even though it's the standardized push-up. Because my first push-ups, I actually surprised myself. I did quite well. I did 27 push-ups. But when you look at the video of those push-ups, they're really not push-ups. Like, you should see, it's embarrassing. Like, I'm all over the place. My shoulders are collapsed. My belly's on the ground. I'm kind of, doing these weird movements. They're not actually push-ups. And then the second time I tested, I did 35, but the form was good. Like, I felt like it was a much harder set of exercises that I did the second time round. So I both increased the number, but I also increased the
quality,
the kind of form, in that push-up.
That's a benefit too of filming it. Filming it makes a big difference. So you can see, like, it was only because you filmed your push-ups that we could see what we needed to fix, or what we needed to improve with them.
Yeah, and it's a funny thing just about core strength. I just had to get fit enough. I had to get a bit of core strength just to be able to hold the position to do one push-up. And I felt like that really didn't happen until almost a month into consistent training, that I was able to start thinking about the form and following some of the kind of coaching tips that Paddy had been giving me. It took a while to get my shit together like that. But now it feels good because I can measure how quickly I do the push-up. I can think about my form as I'm doing it. And it's a dramatically different exercise than before. And I quite enjoy doing like a slow, nicely formed push-up now and mucking around with hand position and feeling those different exercises. Yeah. So it's kind of, yeah. So anyway, the answer is 35, and I'm not sure if I'll break that tomorrow because the last 28-day block, I've not been doing standard push-ups. I've been doing the T push-ups for my push-up stuff. So I don't know if that's going to help. Or anyway, it'd be very interesting to test. I'm not sure that I'll do much more than 35. And what happens, Will, if I can only do 30 tomorrow, if I've actually gone backwards?
Yeah, no, the guideline, for me, like what I'd like to see, the target for you, I think, is to be able to consistently, like, so we've talked about this before when we talk about how much strength is enough. Like, I'm not expecting you to go 35, 40, 45, 50, 70, 100, 110. Like, what we want to do is we want to if you were in the 45 to 50 push-up in a minute mark, and you were in the sort of 25 to 30 inverted row area, perfect. And then we can look at just improving the quality. There's not, what we have to do to sort of push on beyond that. It's just diminishing return. So you're not far off. So I'd be happy if you did 35 again. So I'll be surprised if you do less than you did last time. But I wouldn't be surprised if you do 38 or something around that mark. So, but this is the thing. So break it down, and the thing is, you'll get more experience with testing. So, have a think about, like everything else, the strategy going into it. So you're counting out the time. Whether you do 15, take a 5-second break and shake your arms, do another 15. There's your 30, and then go hell for leather at the end to get whatever you can get out. At the end, everybody has a different strategy for it. It'd be good to get to the stage where, my goal would be to do 50 in 60 seconds without a break.
Right.
To start my push-ups and be able to do pretty much 1 second for 60 seconds be able to hold good form, do good quality push-ups. Same with the inverted rows. My goal would be to be able to do, 50 push-ups and do 30 to 35 inverted rows. The inverted rows, like on the suspension handles, will be harder than doing it on a fixed bar. So if I did 50 push-ups and 25 suspension handle inverted rows with good form, holding good posture, continuously, I'd be super happy with that. And I'd be super happy. That would be my goal for you, based on what we know about you. So to do that and do the same thing, bang out 45 or so squats.
And what do you think with the row? Like, is a 7-minute 2K, is that a good goal, or is that?
Yeah, 100%. That's doable. Dan, you just ask him some questions. I've just got to make sure I don't have a power outage. I think I just got a message there that my computer's going to go to sleep. Just give me 2 seconds.
So are you, I'm looking at your log on Slack, and like I see where you'll say that like you did the session with, the swings, T push-ups, and band pulls. Are you also recording your total volume in any sort of spreadsheet or any sort of tracking?
Not for the resistance exercise. Only I religiously do it for the rowing, just because it's easier to find to track those numbers. But like, what would I be tracking? Just the number of push-ups I do each day or something?
Well, on your session 2, you do swings, T push-ups, and band pulls. How many of each do you do?
So I do 8 repetitions and 5 rounds. So eight reps of each of those and 5 rounds of that.
Okay, so you do 40 of each. So it's fairly easy. It's pretty easy to do the math there. I mean, that matters, right? It's that cumulative,
Right.
that cumulative work. So, and really, whether if you're doing that twice a week, you're doing 80 push-ups a week, right?
Right. Yeah.
And whether you did that in 4 sessions or in 1 session, it probably doesn't matter.
Okay.
I'm just thinking at some point, I mean, do you enjoy doing something every day?
Yeah. I love it.
Okay. I suspect there will be a time when you want to break and you just want to do something different. And that's fine. I mean, I'm there. People have different, I've liked training every day in the past, and then I've liked training every other day, and then I've liked training 4 days a week. And so don't build some artificial, contract with yourself that you have to train every day.
Okay.
And if you find yourself repeatedly doing it but not liking it, then don't keep doing that. Let's talk about it, and we will modify it so that you enjoy it, right? Again, I mean, it's a long game, right? We want to be doing this forever. So we got to got to keep it fun and interesting. And so it seems to me like you really enjoy the rowing, and that's kind of what that will be your primary like performance goal, is improving your rowing. And we'll use the strength training, to build the base and to do that. So, I mean, so right now, I mean, you're training about 3.5 to 4 hours a week, including all of your rowing and all of your strength training. So it's only about an hour of strength training and about 2 hours and 45 minutes of rowing work. So I like to look at all those things.
With the strength training, I also do, I'll do another 15 minutes of warm up and mobility stuff around the stuff. So is it just, the actual duration?
Too. I mean, movement, anytime you're outside moving and exercising, you're not eating ice cream, sitting on the couch. So
exactly.
That stuff's pretty helpful. So, okay, so you're going to test tomorrow, and we really look forward to seeing that. And then, Will, you got any closing?
No, that's what I was going to say. That's 40 minutes. So we've got less than a minute left. So I think that's a good natural end to it. So we'll see where Gus is at. We got a few Poodcasts in the bank yesterday. So we can see where Gus is at. I think the next time that we're both available is 2 weeks from now. So we'll see if Paddy resurfaces. We'll see if we can find where the body is, dig him up, reanimate him, get him back on board, rejuvenated, and we'll take it from there. And we'll be able to have a talk about where Gus is at. So Gus is still in his introduction phase as far as his training. We're building a bit of a base. I've got a lot of things in my head about where we'll go and what we'll do.
Sure.
So stay tuned.
I'm happy for you, though, dude. I'm glad you look good. You look happy.
Yeah. Thanks to you, Dan. Thanks to you as well, Will and Paddy, and to Damien. It's made a huge difference in my days. So much appreciated.
Yeah, and we're going to change that up as well. So we'll